Well, good morning, everybody. Today we're starting in Mark chapter 10. But as so often happens, the episodes that Mark shares with us are interconnected, and we certainly see that the beginning of Mark chapter 10 is subtly and actually not so subtly connected with what happened at yesterday at the end of Mark chapter 9. Remember that Jesus was overhearing his disciples talking, and they were talking about who is the greatest among them. And Jesus shared with them just an incredible verse. He said, whoever wants to be first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else. He emphasized that serving and humility were the most important forces, the most powerful forces in the world. Not physical strength and political coercion as they were used to, but serving and humility. And those come back into today's discussion in a not so subtle way. So in today's text, we have the Pharisees are trying to trap Jesus once again. And it's about a very tough topic, the topic of divorce. And so let's pick it up in verse 2. Some Pharisees came and tried to trap him with this question: should a man be allowed to divorce his wife? Jesus answered them with a question. What did Moses say in the law about divorce? Well, he permitted it, they replied. He said a man can give his wife a written notice of divorce and send her away. But Jesus responded, he wrote this commandment only as a concession to your hard hearts. But God made them male and female from the beginning of creation. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. Now, before we go into some of the nuts and bolts of this particular text, let's remember what we clearly know about marriage. Well, first, the easy part is God created it, and it's a very good thing. And it's meant to be a lifelong commitment. And Jesus, just to reemphasize what we learned in the last chapter, tells us that humility and serving in all relationships are the keys to success in any relationship. The Apostle Paul, I think, summarizes it really, really well when he says in Ephesians 5, verse 21, he says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Paul says marriage is about mutual submission. Even with all that, though, marriage is not easy, and it takes incredible investment in prayer, investment in hard work, and just continual forgiveness. Sometimes it involves a struggle beyond what anybody could have ever imagined. In general, as Jesus talks about divorce, we know that all of us have been affected by divorce in one way or another, either through our family or our friends or even ourselves. And Jesus tells us that divorce comes from hard hearts. It's when one or the other or both of the husband and wife lose their soft heart for the other person. And Jesus is saying that divorce is not part of God's plan for marriage. Brokenness of any kind is not part of God's plan for any relationship. Just to hear that last verse that we read, splitting apart anything that God means to stay connected is full of hurt. And it's part of the world we live in, though. Because God means marriage to be forever, failed marriages bring incredible pain to couples and families and friends and children, and the list goes on and on. And even when divorce is chosen as the least hurtful of two extremely hurtful alternatives, there is baggage that follows often for the rest of life. However, there is grace. And God can pick up the pieces of brokenness and put it back together in a very beautiful way. Forgiveness is beautiful. God's forgiveness is a free gift. We never want to lose sight of that. Part of forgiving is also learning to forgive ourselves, and God can help us with that too, although that can be a tough one sometimes. And sometimes the toughest of all is forgiving each other. But that is even possible too. It's a miracle, but the alternative is continuing to live in bitterness, and none of us want that for the rest of our lives. We don't have it nearly enough time to get into all the rest of the details of this particular passage. But if you would really like to talk about divorce or marriage or forgiveness or anything else, please email us, or we'd be honored to sit down and spend some time together. And I pray that God would give you His grace and peace today as you have an amazing day in His Word.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.